back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Transformers Legacy Velocitron Speedia 500 Deluxe Class Cosmos. Before we take a look, let's take a look at the packaging. So of course up front here we do have a nice artwork of Cosmos in his robot mode, of course with his blaster and his other arm looking very cool. We have Velocitron Speedia 500 collection, we have the Legacy logo, we have Autobot Cosmos, Transformers on the side, of course we have a nice product shot of Cosmos in his really cool looking Ufo mode there. We do have a nice artwork of his Ufo mode, and on the side another artwork of his robot mode looking very cool. He transforms in 21 steps, of course, 2 pictures, one of his robot and alts, and that's pretty much it for the packaging. Let's now get into the review. We have Cosmos in his really cool looking UFO mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very top. Nice red dot there, of course, with a lighter shade of green, a darker shade of green, and that outer ridge section. Of course, up the front here we have some nice blue, silver, and red for that Autobot symbol. Another really cool, interesting tidbit is if you look on the packaging whenever you get this figure, there is actually an Autobot symbol here and here, but of course on the final rendition, the product that I have before you does not have a symbol there, which I'm actually really glad, because these are actually the feet. So in the robot mode there would be half a symbol on each part of the foot, which I think would look kind of weird. So that's kind of interesting. It did not make it into the final product, and I'm actually very glad. Getting of course to the lower part, that other lighter shade of green all around, we also do have some nice boosters done in that darker shade of green. We do have of course a port for the weapon and for flight stance. If you have that, you can use that, which is pretty cool. I actually already do have a stop motion of this figure over in the channel, so if you want to see that, make sure you go check that out after this review. Overall looking very cool, some nice silver, that darker shade of green all the way around, looking very, very nice, and overall really cool. On the bottom, overall very clean, not much kibble, really nothing sticks out, very flat, and again you can have him hovering and flying on your display, looking very, very cool. Let's now get in one quick comparison. Here he is with Origin Bumblebee, and of course a lot of people, when this figure started of course popping up in listings on Walmart, and of course a lot of rumors were going around, a lot of people are thinking that figure was going to be based off this Origin Bumblebee figure, which I actually really liked. I was actually really tempted to get 2 Origin Bumblebees, to have one in the robot and one in the flying saucer mode, but I never did. But as you can see, of course, mold-wise, they're completely different. There's really no similarities at all. Of course, they both do have sort of a hovercraft sort of UFO vibe to them, but they all overall look very, very cool next to each other. And size-wise, completely different. And sculpt-wise, of course, completely different. But if they had based a Cosmos off this mold, I really wouldn't have complained, because I actually really quite like the mold. Another thing a lot of people complain about of the reviews I've seen of Cosmos is they think the top circular section is a little bit too big. In my opinion, I think it's the perfect size. Let me know what you think of that in the comment section down below. But overall, pretty cool looking UFOs together. Let's now get into the accessories. So he does come with one, sort of 2. He comes with the blaster and the flag piece, which you can have separate if you want to, but I typically will have it connected, so you can just store this. Of course, there is a peg and a port back there. I typically store it here, but as you can see, of course, there's some more ports on the side of the UFO if you want to store it there. But overall, that looks pretty cool, and I will bring out several more Velocitron and other characters for comparisons whenever he's in his robot mode. But overall, that looks pretty cool. And of course, if you want to, you can just plug this in the side, just kind of wheel it in, and if you want to have him firing forward, you can, which overall looks pretty cool. And that's pretty much it for the UFO mode. Let's now get into transformation into the robot. Now for transformation, what you're going to want to do is split the legs from the main body section. As you can see, of course, there is a slot on this yellow panel and a tab on the arms, so just hinge these out. You can then move these panels up just like that. You can then go to the bottom section, and of course, this is actually part of the waist/crotch. You're actually going to want to push this whole assembly forward, and there is a tab and a slot at that green piece where I pointed to right there, and that will just tab together just like that. You can then, of course, hinge the whole leg assembly down. You can split at the feet here. There is a tab and a slot, and you can then fold down the foot just like that. We can then go back here, and then you can get these panels, of course. As you can see, there's a whole slot there that will just go right into place like that, and there is a tab that will go right into this groove right there. That will tab into place. Same on the other foot. Just line that up, tab that into place, and there we have the feet all done and good. Then you can move these panels down, and then what you're going to want to do, which is actually really cool engineering that I was surprised to see, you can wiggle this whole section out, rotate this around, and then what you're going to want to do is fold this panel in, and there is a notch and a tab that will just go right into place just like that. And then there is a whole slider section. As you can see, there is a tab, and there's that whole hook that's just going to go into place for the arm. Same on the other side. That will just tab into place. You can then fold out the hands just like that. Same on the other side. You can then push the head out, and there we have Cosmos in his really cool looking robot. We have Cosmos in his really cool looking robot mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very top with that amazing looking Cosmos head sculpt. Of course, some nice red for that helmet section, some blue for the eyes, and some yellow for that faceplate, looking very, very cool, really well sculpted. And of course, through the arms, they actually have a really weird oval sort of half moon design. Actually looks super cool. Some nice yellow and that dark green on the outer edge, and of course the hand, 2 shades of green. I also really do like how, I'm not sure if this was their intention, they sort of recreated that booster design from the UFO mode. If you go to the back, of course, this was from the back of the UFO mode, and as you can see, the hand is slightly recreated that, and I actually think that looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, the hand is not Blasto piece compatible, but I think that'd be really cool because it could be like he's shooting fire out of his hands. That actually look really nice. Now for the chest, of course, a nice Autobot symbol done in red with some silver and blue, getting to the waist, mostly done in yellow and green. And as for the feet, of course, that nice 2 shades of green and silver. As I said before, of course, if there was a second Autobot symbol, it'd actually be half here and here, like from the front of the UFO mode. And I think that looked really weird, so I'm kind of glad they scrapped that to design. And as for the back, there is a little bit of kibble, but honestly, I can cut them some slack because it does transform into a UFO, which is actually a really weird and obscure vehicle mode that they've really never done besides Origin Bumblebee that I know of. And of course, you can cut them some slack because it is a very odd and hard to do vehicle mode. It's not like a car where it's very simple and they do all the time. Let's now get into articulation. So of course the head can move up and down, left to right. So of course the arm can move out and in. A swivel, also a swivel here, an elbow bend. No hand rotation. If you move the arms out of the way, there is a waist swivel. As for these little panels here, they can move up and down. As for the leg, can move out and in, forward and back. There's also a knee bend, a swivel, and of course a slight angle pivot. I kind of wish that was a little bit better, but it's not too bad. That's pretty much it for articulation. Let's now get into his two accessories that I briefly showed earlier. So he does have the flag and a blaster accessory, which you can separate if you want, but there's really nowhere else to put it, which is why I do have sort of a problem with this. Unfortunately, you really can't do anything else besides attach it to the weapon, so that's kind of a shame. But if you want to, you can put it in his hand so he can start the Velocitron race, which is pretty cool. And probably really good for display if you wanted to have a whole Velocitron race setup in your display in your collection. That would look pretty cool. But if you want to have him fighting for the Autobots, you can take that out of his hands, and by the instructions in the box, you just turn it, of course, sideways and use that other peg, and you just have the flag sticking out, which looks kind of weird in my opinion. I wish there was an alternate way to store it. You could use the port on the side of the arm near the elbow for the flag, but again, that would look kind of odd. But overall, that looks pretty cool. That's pretty much it for accessories. Let's now get into the comparisons. So starting off, I wanted to show him with Blaster from the Kingdom/Legacy line, because if you watch the old G1 show, there was actually several episodes where Blaster was inside Cosmos in space in his UFO mode, which of course, size-wise, that makes no sense, because as you can see here, Blaster is much bigger than Cosmos, so of course that really did not make any sense in the cartoon, but overall that looks pretty cool next to each other. And I actually thought it was a cool concept of him like piloting and controlling the UFO mode inside. That's kind of a cool thing, but overall that looks pretty cool. Let's now get in another comparison. Here he is with his sort of UFO buddy, Origin Bumblebee. And as you can see, of course, mold-wise, completely different, no similarities whatsoever. And actually be really interested in the future if they would try to make a Cosmos out of this mold. I would honestly be perfectly fine with 2 Cosmos. Of course, one with this mold and one without one. I'd actually be really interested to see what they do and what they change. You know, would they change the head sculpt to do different accessories? How would they change the alt mode? That'd actually be really cool to see. Let's now get another comparison with his mini-bot friends. Here he is with Cliffjumper, Bumblebee, Warpath. Hopefully I can fit the last one in. And of course, last but not least, Huffer. Hopefully you can see them all. I think that looks pretty cool. Let's now get in one more quick Velocitron comparison. Now for one final comparison, here we have all 5 Legacy Velocitron Deluxes next to each other. And I think the start of the Velocitron line has definitely been a really good one. Of course, I do have the last 3 Velocitron figures left, the 2 Voyagers, and of course the 1-liter Scourge. And maybe, of course, they might change my mind on my favorite. But right now, my favorite has to be Cosmos. Hands down, an amazing figure. My second favorite would probably be a toss-up between Burnouts and Clampdown. Let me know, of course, your top 2 favorites of the Velocitron line. Of course, even if you don't have all of them, just let me me know right now which ones are your favorite by pictures, or of course in the ones you have in hand right now. But overall, really amazing figures. Of course, all the reviews coming soon. Probably by the time you're watching this video, Clampdown's review should be on the channel, and maybe Burnouts as well, so make sure you stay tuned, of course, for these other reviews, Road Rocket and Blur. And that's pretty much it for this comparison. Let's now move into the final. Now get into the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Velocitron Speedia 500 Collection Deluxe Class Cosmos. Starting in the robot mode, overall really like the head sculpt, the detail on the chest looks amazing. Overall, really good articulation. And of course, getting down to one thing I'm really glad they didn't do is the 2 Autobot symbols in the Ufo mode. It also would affect this robot mode, so if you watched or looked at the packaging in the beginning intro, there was actually 2 Autobot symbols, one that you can see on the chest right now, and the other one would be in the very front where the feet are, and of course half of it would be on one foot and the half would be on the other, and I'm really glad they didn't do that because I think that would have looked really weird. I'm not sure why they kept it on the packaging. I guess maybe it was too late to change it. They already had, of course, made and printed out all the paper and artwork on the packaging, so I guess it was too late, but I'm so glad they didn't do that. Getting down to the accessory, I actually really do like the blaster and the flag. Concept-wise, it's cool, just storage-wise, it's not the greatest, because I do like how you can have him holding the flag and starting the race. That's cool, but in the blaster form, you just have it sticking out, and I think that looks kind of weird. I wish there was maybe another place where you could, like, stick it on the back. Yes, there is ports and areas where you can just plug it in, like on the arm. Of course, again, that would look kind of weird as well. So I wish there was a normal, constructive, good way to store it without it looking weird. Getting down to transformation, of course, both ways. Actually, pretty simple. I transformed it once with the instructions, and after the second time, I was easily able to do it, super fast. And getting down, of course, to the UFO mode, I actually really do like it. Yes, people did complain about the little circular area of the UFO mode being too big. Some people actually said it was too small. My personal opinion, I thought it was just fine. Maybe that's just because this is like my first UFO transforming figure ever, so I really am not that picky. I think it looks good. Accessories, storage-wise, not too bad. Of course, you can store it on the very back of the UFO circular section, or you can store it on the side, which is pretty cool, so you can have it in the flag form, or, of course, in the blaster form, which is always nice. And, of course, getting down to the problem of availability. So I was actually able to get 2 Cosmoses. I got both of them from Hasbro Pulse when they went live, of course, when San Diego Comic-Con was just starting. So I do hope, and, of course, wish everyone is able to get this figure. Yes, this is going to be like the next Netflix Bumblebee, where you just spend like $80 to get one, and I actually had to do that. My Netflix Bumblebee you saw earlier in the comparisons, I was able to get it, but I spent about $90 on eBay to get that small figure. This, of course, I was a little bit more lucky, so I do hope, of course, everyone can get an easy opportunity to get it. My advice would just be to check Hasbro Pulse like every few days, and Walmart, because of course you could never know when it will restock. My probably best advice to you would most of the time check Hasbro, because Walmart probably will never get it back in stock, because actually for many months when I was looking for that Netflix Bumblebee before I bought it on eBay, I was looking on Walmart, I never saw it in stock over like the span of like 5-6 months, so I would just not even try with Walmart. It could maybe restock, but I'm kind of doubting it. Probably you're more likely to get on Hasbro than, of course, Walmart, because Hasbro does make the product themselves, so you would have a greater chance of getting it there than a different store who, of course, would get it from the maker, Hasbro. So I do wish you luck getting this. So let me know if you think of this figure in the comment section down below. I'm not really sure why I have to. I just bought one because I thought, this toy is going to be pretty cool, and I might want to. I think probably in my collection I might actually display one in the robots and one in the UFO, and I think they'll look pretty cool. So again, hope you enjoyed this review, and I think that's pretty much it. So I'll see you next.